Talk. Now, another offering from the StandUpTalk Radio Network.
Welcome back, everybody, to Sal's Comedy Hole podcast. We do this every week, and we just have a great time doing it, right? Am I right, Ari?
Absolutely. This
wow,
is
that's my
the
producer.
Highlight of my life right
that's
now.
My producer, the dead-voiced, dead-souled Ari Mannis. Last week, we had on Janus, right?
Yeah, and he was a really good guest. I learned a lot about him.
Fun guy to have on. He talked about drugs a lot. He works with me here at Sal's Comedy Hole, and we really think he's a fantastic kid when he's not high. So I've never seen him be a fantastic kid. So what I decided to do was bring him back this week for 5 quick minutes because there's been... Hey, Naz, how you doing? There's been a lot of big changes in his life since he appeared on his first ever podcast. The guy is blowing up. Naz, welcome to the show.
What's going on, you guys? How's it going?
Oh, he's putting on a fake voice already, Ari.
My voice just sounds fake.
All right, he's just a fake person then, Ari, I guess. Naz, last week you did the podcast, and I know it was our first successful podcast.
It was great. I loved being on.
We loved having you on, and since then, you've done a lot of stage time, I understand. You've made a lot of Facebook friends. I hear that you're blowing up because of the podcast.
I have made a total of 5 new Facebook friends, one of which I didn't know before, and I have been performing at open mics every night. And
a ton of open mic stage time for the kid that works with me here at Sal's Comedy Hole. Naz, there's another reason I brought you on. Are you ready, when the pro shows happen, to stand out front in a nice collared shirt and walk people to their seats?
Yeah, I think I could do that.
In anticipation of a great show.
Yeah, I definitely could do that.
Okay.
See, a lot of people don't want to sit in the front row, and that's a big problem.
You gotta put them in the front row to make the comedy happen.
That's right.
Comedy has to get juiced.
And I tell them, they're not going to get you. They're not here to get you.
They're not gotcha sort of comics that we book here.
They might get you.
They'll get you.
They'll get
It
you
is funny.
sometimes.
It's funny how many audience members think that they're going to get messed with if
Right.
they sit in the front.
Right, and it does happen, but it's always friendly when people
Yeah.
like Eleanor Kerrigan was in here. She was super funny. Both nights we had her in here.
Yeah, she was
and
really
she
funny.
does a little bit where like a memory trick where she remembers. She does a little crowd work, and then she starts dropping jokes. She seems to remember everyone she talked to and hits them later as a callback. But they weren't being messed with; they were being part of the show, and it was fun. So anyway, Sal's Comedy Hole podcast. Naz, what are your plans for comedy this week?
I'm gonna go to the Improv later, sign up for that, and then if I don't get on there, come back down here, do my little bump thing that I like to do when I drop in on the Sal's Comedy Hole, and then go to Marty's.
Go to Marty's. Always at Marty's, this Naz Janus.
And then
Naz, what are your drug plans for the coming week? What are we doing?
Right after this, I'm gonna go down the street right here in sunny Hollywood on Melrose. I'm gonna go to some dispensary, I forgot what it's called, and get this Cannabis Cup winning sativa. It's gonna be a treat.
A sativa that won the Cannabis Cup. Can you handle that sort of action? Because you're a young, skinny kid. Can you take that many chemicals into your brain?
A lot of people like to say their bodies are like a temple. My body is like an industrial chemical refinery.
How often do you read, Naz?
I read once a year.
And
to remind myself not to do this next year.
I'm the only guy, and I feel this way all the time, I'm the only guy carrying a book around, and I'm the only guy not getting stoned all the time. Yet a stoner at any given moment will stop me and tell me their theory, how they figured something out in life. And you're one of those guys, Naz. I appreciate that.
Thanks. It's working out.
Do you have because we're here in Hollywood, California, in case people are listening around the world, remember Frank and George are listening to us?
That's right. They are a
and
great
George.
audience. Thank you for listening, Frank and George.
Thank you, Frank and George. In case people are listening around the world, in Hollywood we have medical marijuana dispensaries. You get a card from the state that says you're sick. And you get to get your medical marijuana. And everybody that I know seems to be just crippled with illness because they're all smoking all the time. Naz, do you have a card?
Yeah, I got a medical card.
What's your ailment? What's your affliction?
I think I told him I have ADD. I do have ADD.
I think I agree with you. How does marijuana help with ADD?
Because it gets you zoned out and you concentrate on things for way too long. You think about things way too much, way more than you should. And then, unlike ADD medications, you do that and then you get too much in your head.
And too much in your head.
Sit back and.
Naz, you're easily the fourth best person I know. Easily.
Thank God.
You're extremely genuine. I've never caught you in a lie yet. I'm a world-class liar. I lie to everyone.
We all are.
Yeah. But I don't see Naz. Naz is he's an open book. He's not reading books, but he's an open book. Good job, buddy. That was fantastic.
How many inches is your penis?
7.5.
Ari, why do we always go to penis?
Just like talking about penises.
I have never once wanted to know the size of Naz's penis. Never once.
I can't lie.
I wanted to see if he'd be truthful about it, and
Naz,
he wasn't.
I want to congratulate you on everything that you're doing and everything that you're going to do. I know we're going to be hearing big things from Naz Janus. Naz, that roommate of yours, the Dustin Creature.
The other Deemster.
Yeah, has he gotten fatter?
He's working on it.
He's working. He's plumping up. He's really juicing. He's really. I keep using the word juice. I think because there's so many Jews in the room, and it just. Wow, he's gotten fatter and shaggier, hasn't he?
Well, both are a calculated decision on his part.
I'm gonna need a ticket booth guy. All right, and I don't think he can handle the workload.
You're not gonna want to hire him.
Okay, good. Now he's some sort of pot smoking freak, isn't he?
Yeah. Well, we all are.
I'm not gonna hire him. I'd like to if he could cut the hair, lose the weight, and put on a nice collared shirt the way that you can, but he just can't. So, Naz, thanks for dropping by.
Thanks for having me, guys. I got to take off right now.
Oh, look at him. He's full of plans.
I'm on the move.
On the move.
Hey, thanks for coming, Naz. It was nice seeing you. I heard you got a big feature film coming out. If you have any roles for me or Brad or James, just let us know.
Well, yeah, we'll talk. We'll get you in that Extreme Chimpanzee meets Basketball Diaries movie.
That's fantastic. All right, everybody in podcast land. Naz Janus is checking out.
Yeah, I'll see you guys later.
Thank you, buddy.
Thanks for having me again.
Absolutely. We're going to move in. Ari, things are always popping at the StandUpTalk.com website that you run. Am I right?
You know, we try to keep them popping. It's been a mediocre week.
I have a guest sitting down in the chair right now who looks a lot like you. By the way, people at home, Ari has got like the Jufro, like the young white guy with the Jufro. He's a handsome young guy.
Oh, thanks, James.
You're a good guy. He skateboards. Appreciate that. He's a gnarly dude, and the guy really sitting down in the chair looks like him at 40. That's exactly what's happening.
Gosh, I hope not.
That's exactly what's happening right now. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Brad Sachs to the podcast. Brad Sachs.
Thank you, James. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
I'm glad to have you anytime. And I bring up StandUpTalk.com here on the Sal's Comedy Hole podcast because Brad is wearing a StandUpTalk.com t-shirt.
Correct.
And Demar Randy yesterday was wearing a StandUpTalk.com t-shirt.
He was. I saw him repping that shirt. Correct.
But the host of Sal's Comedy Hole podcast has yet to be given a StandUpTalk.com t-shirt.
You know, I know once I give him a Stand Up Talk t-shirt, if he wears that, the site is going to blow up. So I'm just waiting a little bit for the right time for when that site's going to blow up.
Do you have more t-shirts, Ari?
I do.
You do? Okay.
I have a box of them at home.
What sort of sizes are we talking about?
I heard you were a large, and
I'm a large or an extra large. I can always,
I
wear
have
a poofy t-shirt.
I have medium and large and extra large, and I have large and extra large.
I'm not a medium. The man tits pop out when I'm medium. I did not age well. I am no longer the physical specimen I was in my 20s. If you give me a medium t-shirt, you see basically an old woman walking down the street. It's not pleasant.
Yeah.
Well, you too?
I've tried to keep in shape. Mediums they're tough. You wash a medium, then you're going down to like a large small.
Oh yeah.
You're done. Now, Ari, obviously being the strategic guy he is, he's giving the t-shirts to all the right people.
Right.
All the right
miscreants.
Yeah, he doesn't give one to the podcast host, creator.
No. Why would he do that? Why would he do that to the only person that puts him on an interesting podcast every week?
Well, I'll tell you the truth behind it. What I'd like to say is, because I'm waiting for it to blow up, the real truth is all the shirts I've given away is when people stopped in at the garage, because that's where they're located, and I have a bad memory.
I'm not going to
so I'd love to invite you. Maybe we could watch a movie this evening.
Listen,
I have a blanket. It's cold in there. We could share a blanket.
I'm a married man who runs a comedy room and also runs a restaurant, and together those three things, I do not have time to go over to a skateboarder's garage and pick a t-shirt from a box. You're going to have to bring me one.
No, I will, but I'm just saying, if you want to watch a movie with me, I have an extra blanket we could share. I have popcorn. We're
getting myopic right now. I want to let everyone know at home that this is going to be a discussion about stand-up comedy, and it's going to be a discussion about how I know my guest, Brad Sachs. I have two topics that we're going to talk about. One, stand-up comedy. Of course, we're always going to hit it.
Sure.
All right. The other one is jinx. What is a jinx? How do we spot a jinx? Is a jinx a real thing? Can a person be a jinx? This has been on my mind all week, and I'll bring that up in a little bit. But Brad, you did my showcase show, and you won my showcase show. Last night, Monday night, here at Sal's, the showcase show is always free to come attend. How do you think you did?
First of all, I was just happy to be invited on the showcase.
Do you like the train sound effect that we have for rolling underneath here?
I figured I'd just let that slide.
We have a fantastic guy who's taking out the trash right now, cleaning up from last night's thing, and he's rolling a big garbage can through the room that we're doing a podcast on. I like it. I like knowing that we're in a busy place. I like hearing. Yeah.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on. It was first of all, it was an honor to be on the Sal's Comedy Hall showcase.
Right. You know what, the name keeps changing, and that's my fault. It's Young Comic Showcase or Showcase Night at Sal's. What do you prefer?
God, when I saw the Young Comedian Showcase, for me, I'm like, man, am I a young comedian? Because, like you said, I am pushing 40 years old.
Yeah, you're an old dude.
I am not a young comedian. And then to say that I am sort of young means inexperienced.
I think you're right.
To say, oh, you're a young comic near pushing 40 goes, you are nothing in this town.
So it's going to be Showcase Night at Sal's, I think.
I guess so.
Good.
Well, don't change it for me, considering most of the comics running around this town are in their 20s, like the producer here, Mannis.
But you have a good point, because Young Comic Showcase, I think, expresses you're not going to see the best of the best, because people just equate inexperience and age.
Right.
Whereas Showcase Night at Sal's, you could see anybody. We could put anybody up there, and you'd be happy to see it.
Right. It makes it sound more like people are coming to vie for a spot in this club.
Right.
Which
they are.
No, they used to do the big young comedians. Didn't Rodney Dangerfield have that show or something?
Rodney did specials on HBO where he brought in new comics. I don't remember the exact title of the specials. I have them all at DVD. They're fantastic. Evening at Rodney's or Night at Rodney's place. The first two were great.
Right.
The third one that happened in the 80s, in the late 80s, was just horrible. But they're all on the DVD, and because what happened in the late 80s is comedy spread like a cancer across the country.
Right.
It was on too much. It was too watered down. It was too filtered. It was like inexperienced people were all of a sudden making $80,000 a year touring and whatever, and that reflected in that last Rodney young comedian special.
Why?
Oh,
you mean the comedians he had on?
The comedians he had on. It was people that didn't go on to succeed afterwards. It was like Bob Zaney and this guy and this guy. Not that Bob Zaney is not a wonderful person. I don't know who that is. But it was just a handful of people that didn't go on to anything, whereas you see the two first ones, and you're talking about Jerry Seinfeld and Dice and Bill Hicks and Sam Kinison and Roseanne.
Right.
Roseanne. I mean, great comedians. And then that third special, it was just like Joe and Steve and Pepper. And it's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
I wonder how that happened. Because Rodney had a pretty good eye for,
it was
comedy.
It was no longer even needing an eye because in the late 80s, here it comes again.
A train.
Here comes
train coming.
Fantastic. No, you're doing good, buddy. It's all good.
That's live.
That's live.
That's live radio.
We don't edit this podcast, do we, Ari? We just throw it up.
Not a whole lot. I'll do a little touch up.
So that last Rodney Dangerfield Young Comic Special, and by the way, I'm obsessed with Rodney Dangerfield. I grew up in Weston, Connecticut, and Rodney had a house in Connecticut, and not far, and he had a club. It was a nice commute to the club in New York. And I was mowing lawns when I was a kid, and I went and I knocked on the door where the lady always paid me at the back door, and the lady wasn't there, and I was looking up, and there was a Rodney Dangerfield. He was mowing his lawn.
He was mowing his own lawn?
I was mowing his lawn.
Oh, you were mowing his lawn?
And I had no idea. I mowed his lawn for like 6 weeks. I had no idea.
Is that right?
Yeah. Also, I was so young, I didn't know who I was looking at.
Wow.
Yeah. And then later, it gets expressed through television and film as I got older. I was like 10 years old. I didn't know who Rodney Dangerfield was.
See, he hit me right in the wheelhouse because one of the first movies I remember was Caddyshack.
Oh, I was like,
of course. I was about 7 when I saw it.
Right.
Just had come on cable.
Right.
We had just gotten cable TV just broke through.
Right. Yeah.
1980, 81.
VCRs and cable at the same time.
Same time.
You go to the drugstore. They had a shelf of 4 videos that you could rent from. Ari, that never happened in your lifetime, but. There weren't Blockbusters at one time when the VCR was new, and you had to go to the drugstore.
Right now. All the Blockbusters are closing right now. It's going back.
They are.
It's a good thing.
Gone.
It's a good thing.
I agree. Yeah.
But the thing about Rodney is he's a great story. He's very inspirational for comedians because Rodney went through it all. He really. He didn't really, for the most part, get discovered till he was 46 years old, and it was almost by accident.
Right. Well, what he did is he quit. He got married. He quit. His wife got sick. He was an aluminum siding salesman. He was a subcontractor. He rode all over Jersey, but he never stopped riding into the city and going to the drugstore and selling jokes. And actually, him and Janus are sort of credited by me, no one else. I'm just going to go ahead and put that stamp on it.
Sure.
Sort of credited with creating modern stand-up comedy. Because we had the Catskills guys, we had a transition in culture, and there was 2 dudes selling jokes out of a duffel bag in his car to all these comics who were making the transition from, hey, my mother-in-law doesn't clean the house, blah, 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 to more graphic, more dirty, more, and Janus, Rodney's partner, who he was friends with for years and years and years, technically, if you to believe the biographies, created Lenny Bruce.
Right, because that must have been the same time. I think Dangerfield was born like in, let's say, 1922. Yeah. So you're talking early 60s. He was probably...
Rodney Dangerfield's first stage name was Jack Roy. His father was a vaudevillian, and his father was Jack Roy. So he was Jack Roy Jr., and then he dropped the Jr. However, his real name was Jacob Cohen. He was born in Coney Island in the 1920s. Wow, do I know everything?
That's correct.
Do I know everything?
You're surprising me today. You have more knowledge than I thought you did.
You do know a lot. But what I love about the guy, when he was about 40, he said, you know what, this sales bullshit is not working. He went back to it, grinded it out for probably another 5 or 6 years, was backstage, I guess, at the Ed Sullivan show, and apparently one of the comics didn't show, and they said, hey, Rodney, go do it, and then he just,
You're wrong. You're wrong about all of that.
Okay, but it's fair enough. You know what? I'm not a historian. I read his Wikipedia.
Rodney Dangerfield's wife got sick, and he was home. He was raising kids. He was taking care of this wife. He was, and who knows? The biography doesn't go into detail on how much he loved the wife. She was an ex-showgirl. He spent his 20s trying to do it as a comedian and a singing waiter in New York.
Right. I knew that.
Rodney actually had a good singing voice. But then he had to take the time off to do a real career, and he did all through his 30s and a little bit into his 40s. He was a subcontractor selling aluminum siding and getting work crews out, doing the sales pitch for Let's Fix Your House. Then his wife died, and he was free to go back, and he went back. And one of his jokes, which is... It strikes me as very profound on how a comedian how a comedian interprets the world and takes some little bit, makes it into a joke. Because you hear the "I don't get no respect" and you think that they're just, He's just a guy who sat down and came up with 20 jokes or whatever. His wife was attached to a machine that was keeping her alive for the last few years that she was alive. And Rodney, one of his early jokes is, my wife is attached to a machine that keeps her alive. It's the refrigerator. And just the whole idea that he took a real thing, skewed it, interpreted it, and people in the audience think it's just a comical, zany thing that someone thought of on a notebook is just insane. There's so much darkness and so much light in the Rodney Dangerfield story. It's ridiculous. It's like a yin-yang symbol.
Yeah. And he was pretty crazy. I mean, he was a pretty crazy guy. Even to the very end, he
drank to excess. He
big
smoked
weed, big marijuana.
Smoked marijuana before the hippies were doing it. He was in the 50s. He was smoking weed and thinking of everybody as squares. He was involved in the restaurant business and the nightclub business, and he did, coke, and he took Richard Lewis out, if you believe Richard Lewis's stories, every time you saw him, and he was like that guy that you had to get fucked up with after the show. He'd answer the dressing room door. I'm doing all the talking on this podcast, Brad. I'm sorry.
No. I'm getting educated about a guy that I really look up to.
I think Rodney Dangerfield is fantastic and often overlooked when people do the, hey, who's the 5 greatest comics of all time? And they go Pryor, Carlin, Hicks, depending on where you lean, you throw in whoever you like, right?
Sure.
I think Rodney gets overlooked on those lists.
Absolutely. He does. I think, it's hard to narrow down to, and comedy's so subjective that some people love the guy and some people are like, I don't know, he's not for me.
Right.
But again, once he got a sort of a film career going, he ended up in some pretty good movies. He did
Caddyshack, Back to School.
Caddyshack, Back to School, Easy Money, if you ever saw that one.
Yeah, not a good movie.
Not great?
Yeah, I mean, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. Yeah, it's forgettable. But Caddyshack, Back to School, you can't forget either of those.
No, both of those were obvious classics. And then he was in the Natural Born Killers, I remember.
Yeah, he wrote that bit.
He did?
Yeah.
Wow.
He wrote that. Oliver Stone asked him to do something. He said, let me put something together that's a little bit better. And they did that dark sitcom-y thing. He wrote that little section of the movie.
Right.
Wow, I know everything about Rodney Dangerfield, Ari.
You're very knowledgeable, James. I've learned a lot about you today.
I wish I knew as much about computers as I do about Rodney Dangerfield, because then I could navigate my own career.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
You probably could.
So I brought you on here, Brad, to talk about you. So let's talk about you. You did the showcase last night and you won it.
Yeah.
And you looked out over the crowd when you took the microphone and you just said, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna lay into these people. And how did it go? How did you feel it went?
I felt like it was good. It was a really good workout for me. It was I actually felt really good because it was one of those times where I could have fun and push the boundary a little bit, because I'm still trying to sort of find out or evolve into who I am or what's going to make me a comedian.
You're looking for your voice.
I'm trying to find my voice. I have not completely found it yet, or I probably would have been discovered, or I'd be a lot farther along. Or
that's interesting. You use the word discovered. I don't believe any comedian anywhere ever gets discovered. I think it's a lot like really the old school mentality of a journeyman learning their trade, and then you get so good at your trade that eventually you're undeniable, and the clubs let you in and they book you.
Right.
Because it's the only art where you get instant feedback.
Right.
Instant right now. The room is laughing. People are having a good time. I want this comic back in my room.
Right.
And Ari,
you know how you did it.
Yeah, Ari. One day you might experience that, a room laughing, and the person wants you back.
Sure hope so.
One day I might experience that to a greater level than I'm already experiencing. And you, stadiums and concert tours, my friend. I see that in your future. And I'm always telling you about there's no too big.
Right.
Because I feel that I felt when I met you 2 years ago that the monotone voice, was a monotone voice. And I was telling you that there's a wave, and Liz, I'm not a fucking expert, Jesus Christ. I'd throw rocks at my head if you got different opinions. But there's a wave to the way that you speak when you're doing stand-up comedy. I think you're starting to bridge that gap.
Yes, and I am. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I definitely am.
Yeah.
I have found a way to sort of plant my feet up there.
Right.
And say to myself, you know what? This audience is looking at me right now, and I don't give a shit who's out there. I'm gonna go for it. I'm just gonna throw it out there.
Right.
I'm comfortable with my material so far. I've got that in my bag. I've got my bullets in the gun when I go up there.
Right.
Now I've got to go up there and I've got to add some stuff to it to make these people laugh more than they maybe the audience used to laugh at me. You know what I mean? I'm trying to get it.
Well, I think the spice of life is emotion. Right. You have a memory of anything that happened in your life because you're either happy or extremely sad or extremely comfortable or extremely, and that's true. If you go through your memories, you don't remember Tuesday opening the mail.
Right.
That doesn't stick in your brain. But that surprise party you went to, man, you never forget it until you get Alzheimer's and eventually die alone. But before that, you never forget it. And that's what stand-up comedy is to me right now. I could be wrong. But I think it's about whatever bullets you have in the gun, giving that, Ari, are you playing with the levels? It just got really loud in my, Jesus. It's okay. No, it's okay. I think it's about whatever bullets you have in the gun, if it's material, if it's jokes, if it's impressions, if it's whatever. I think it's about applying the correct emotion to them.
Right.
And I think at that moment, any joke can become undeniable. If you move someone in the crowd with the same emotional capacity that you're feeling, and listen, it's why we give out Oscars.
Right.
There, you watch that No Country for Old Men, and that guy's walking around bulleting people in the head with the cattle prod thing. Man, he needs an Oscar. That's what you say to yourself because he doesn't blink. The fucker doesn't blink. And if you're experiencing a joke at that level, there's no way. Yeah.
Right.
To be denied.
Yeah. Well, I think also being a comedian in the big city like LA or wherever, it forces you to. Because you're up against, you see nightly, people. You're going to see literally the best comedians in the world,
and even the best undiscovered comedians.
Right, and you need to. I'm like, okay, and if you're realistic with yourself, you're saying, okay, here's where I'm at right now. I'm watching this guy in some little hole in the wall place, and he's really effing good.
Yeah.
I need to find a way to take what I have and get it to that level. If you really want to do this
for a living,
if you want to make money doing this, or springboard to something in showbiz.
There's a thing, and I don't want to springboard to anything in show business. I want to do stand-up comedy for a living, and it's not going to happen right now. But I'm managing a comedy room. And I'm learning everything there is to learn about comedy. And as you go along and you learn, it's like you were talking about Discovered, and we're in the toughest city in the world to do comedy.
Sure.
Did you start here?
Yes.
You did. That's tough.
I did. I started everything here. And when I moved to Los Angeles, I loved stand-up comedy. Mm-hmm. I discovered it when I was 12 years old. I still remember the exact second I saw the first stand-up. It was Robert Schimmel on.
Bob Schimmel.
Yeah, Bob Schimmel, and I still remember I was on the couch with my brother, and the joke he told, and the reaction that it invoked out of me, and I said, "Wow, this is amazing." Never wanted to do it. When I moved to LA, when I was right out of college, I was hardcore into the heavy dramatic acting. I wanted to be a James Dean, Marlon Brando type of I wanted that. I wanted to
ignore the obvious Jewishness and be the James Dean.
Yeah, I wanted to some short curly-headed Jewish kid coming here thinking, you know what, I'm gonna talk real low and I'm gonna be brooding, and no one's doing that in Hollywood. Right. And quickly I found out I was not very good at that. I was horrible at that.
So it's a general idea of expressing yourself, because you're acting and stand-up comedy. You sort of, I feel like you have an overwhelming need to just simply express yourself.
Yes.
And that's exactly why I only commented on the monotone voice you were doing stand-up in 2 years ago.
Right. Well, I was new at it. I was,
No, everyone's terrible when they start. Yeah.
Oh, and the first time I started the first time I did stand-up, I was probably 27. Uh-huh. I was even worse. I didn't even know what I was doing up there. No. I had no idea how to formulate a joke. I didn't know what was funny. I didn't really care.
Right.
Because stand-up to me at that point wasn't, it was all right. There was a lot of other stuff I wanted to do.
Right.
I still wanted to be an actor. I wanted to audition during the day, and I wanted to work at night so I could pay the bills so I could audition during the day.
But I think the most interesting thing about art and fear is that if you can boil yourself down to what is my need, and you have an overwhelming need just from hearing you to express yourself.
Yes.
And what you weren't doing in your art was expressing yourself.
Right.
And now you're slowly making that change. If the overwhelming need is for people to like me, what you might not be doing in your art is being likable. Do you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like if you could really at the pre-3 year level of stand-up comedy, if you can really find what am I not doing, and what do I want most of all, I think you'll usually find that they match up perfectly. But you have to be honest, like incredibly honest with what do I want.
Right.
Right. I want to express myself. I want fame and fortune. I want love. I want whatever. Find the honest thing that happens, and I think you'll find in your art you're just not talking about it. You're just not painting that picture.
Right.
Wow.
Right. That's I like that. No, you're right. You're right. And I think I do. That's why after all the BS I went through, started to get back on stage every night, because I said to myself, I just want to perform. I just want to get up there, and I want to do my thing.
Right.
And the great thing about stand-up is you can do it, and you do it for yourself. You go up there by yourself, and you blab whatever you want to blab, and no one can tell you different.
Right.
You don't have to listen to anybody.
Right.
And I think in Hollywood, a long time, you get rejected enough, and you have enough people telling you do it this way or don't do that or you suck or whatever. After a while, you're just like, I just want to do it for me.
Right.
F everybody.
It's such an interesting dynamic. It would be like being the point guard for the Lakers, but the Lakers only play one-on-one, and so the Knicks come in, and you're playing one guy one-on-one, but there's not even there. There's not even a Nick. It's just you. You're taking 10 shots from the three-point line or something, and that's it. Does the crowd cheer or does the crowd not cheer?
Right.
Because they're not going to boo.
Right. They're not. Yeah, I've never been booed.
I've never been booed either. I always hear new comics talk about, I don't want the room to turn on me. I don't. Most people that see a comedy show are super polite and they want to laugh and they. And
I mean, it depends the venue. It depends. As a young sort of comedian, you perform.
Right. Listen, I'm not talking about urban rooms right here. I'm talking about real comedy rooms where people are polite.
Actually, in the urban rooms I've been to, they love comedy. They want you to come in and make them laugh. They are not.
That was a joke.
They're not. Yeah. Of
not
course.
A general racist critique that I just made. What do you think, Ari?
Well, I know you're tremendously racist as a person.
Yeah, and misogynistic. And anti-Semitic.
Big time.
My God.
I agree. I think most of the times the audience is very welcoming. The only times you do not get a welcoming audience is when you kind of surprise comedy on them. So bar shows.
I thought you were agreeing to my anti-Semitism. That would have been really fun.
Well, yeah, Jews are terrible people. I don't know. I don't know that they should be allowed to live as freely as they do. But
that's rude. You're a good kid, Ari. You're a good kid. But see, what we were just talking about, an audience turning on you. Ari will experience that all the time, and because they don't turn on you because you're not funny. They turn on you because you say something ridiculously rude and racist or whatever, and it doesn't settle. It doesn't settle in the pit of someone's. That's the only time they turn on you. They don't boo for boring.
Most likely, an audience will turn on you if they don't like you as a person. If people, or either that, or they're just assholes in general, and they're like, I'm tired of being here. I want to go home.
But
what you get in Los Angeles.
That would be one guy turning on you at a time. That would be a heckler. It wouldn't be a whole crowd.
Oh yeah.
Right. You'll never get a whole crowd. The only way you will get a whole crowd against you is if you go after them and you want them to be.
We talked about stand-up comedy today, Brad. Wow.
Yeah.
And we got into some depth that I don't think I reached with Naz and the Jinx that was on the show before.
I think that was definitely the most serious conversation in the podcast as of date.
Wow. Do I get a Pulitzer for that? What's the podcast award?
What is a Pulitzer?
You're such a dick. You're such a dick.
No, he probably doesn't.
No, I genuinely don't know that.
It's a prize for literature that people got. I'm not going to
really
explain
lame.
the Pulitzer Prize. Yeah, it's lame. Yeah, you're right. Asshole. I hate young people. I've turned into that guy when someone says, "What is a Pulitzer?" or doesn't know Hillary Rodham Clinton. If it's just Hillary, do you know what I mean? Like people just don't know stuff.
A different person.
You know, a great quote. I was once in a doctor's office, and the doctor, I forget, he was examining me, and we were talking about something, and the doctor said to me, he goes, "Brad, youth is wasted on the young."
Yeah.
And that always stuck with me.
He was quoting himself.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was also. I've heard that before.
Yeah, but
don't attribute it to some podiatrist.
I'm insulted.
No.
I'm insulted that you think youth is wasted on me, Brad.
What I'm saying is, James and I are older, and we're extremely jealous, and we're bitter, and
I'm insulted that punchlines are clearly wasted on you as well. It's just not much of an audience over there, buddy. Anyway, the second part of our podcast today was about jinxing and what is a jinx and who is a jinx. And I might have eaten up all our time. What are we at for time?
Where do you want to be at for time?
All right, let's just keep going because this is the internet.
Yeah,
This is the internet. So, Brad, listen, do you have hopes and dreams and all that sort of stuff, but you also have a daily routine you have to go through. You got to pay the bills.
Correct.
You live with a girl, right? A pretty girl?
Yes.
Right? You touch her when she's naked?
Correct.
Yeah, so that's like a thing you're doing in your life. And so you have to come home with rent. You have to come home with mutton. I'm sure she eats.
Got to pay the bills.
Got to pay the bills. So you do all this stuff, and then I'm sure you're hoping to have a stress-free day as you go through your day. You just want your day to happen, the bills to come home, then I'm out doing comedy every night. Am I thinking correctly?
You've got me pretty much pinpointed. I want to do what I can do during the day and not have any disasters. I like the flow, sort of the force. Like Star Wars, the force. You want your force to be in line. Yeah. Anytime the force is disturbed,
your chi, your karma, whatever.
I'm big into that. I'm big into the Zen sort of.
I'm not. I don't have any any religious feelings on the planet whatsoever. I don't have any. Hey, that was deja vu. I don't believe in any of that. I don't say any of that. Right. But lately, I've really invested heavily in jinxing. And what a jinx is.
Okay.
So when something goes wrong in your day.
Okay.
Do you ever, in your mind, just go and attribute it to someone or something else as like a totem? Like, oh, you know what? This is really screwing up because Demar Randy's around.
No.
Okay.
I know a lot of people that did that, especially because they were gamblers.
Oh, okay.
And they were big on, you're affecting the cards, get away from me, or don't watch this game with me because you are.
I've said that to my wife.
Yeah.
I've told my wife I love the Los Angeles Clippers. I've loved them for 12 years too, not just recently. I've loved them since they drafted Darius Miles, and they traded for Corey Maggette, and they got Keon Young.
Wow.
No, Keon Dooling, not Keon Young.
I did not know that.
And Lamar Odom, they got them all around the same time. And then there was this amazing trade for Elton Brand.
Yeah.
With Tyson Chandler. They had Tyson Chandler come out of high school, and they traded for Elton Brand. And all of a sudden, I was like, this is the team for me. I was living in Dallas, but I was fuck Mark Cuban and his thing. I want to watch this team. They did everything right. And then they lost for 10 straight years. And they got rid of all those guys one at a time. And I wanted Donald Sterling, the owner, to die.
Yeah.
And I still do. I still do.
Donald Sterling. Whoa.
Yeah. So I'm watching this just roller coaster ride that never has any ups of the Clippers.
Sure.
And I'm falling in love with the concept of watching this team build. And I'm hoping eventually they will. And then all of a sudden it happens the last 2 years.
Yeah.
So I'm super in love with them. And now if my wife starts cheering or saying something that is just a little bit off in basketball language or lingo, and they miss a shot, or the other team rallies and comes back, I immediately go, good, stop talking, stop saying stupid things, because I attribute.
You think that she's somehow changing the outcome of.
Eric Bledsoe, the backup point guard on the Los Angeles Clippers, missed that shot because my wife misdiagnosed in her linguistic terminology.
Right.
What he was doing. And I go, you don't know basketball, stop talking. And then she goes, I can't believe I'm married to this asshole.
Right.
Yeah.
Of course.
So I guess I do kind of believe in jinxing before even this.
Huh. I can't say that I wrap my head around that theory. Especially when it comes to sports. There's no way that you sitting in your place of living with your wife.
Even if you wear the cap upside down and you rub the tummy monkey or whatever the fuck they sold you the last time you were at the stadium, and you toast at halftime, and if you forget to, they lose. Whatever your thing is. But I believe a person can be a jinx, and everything they can do can ruin your life. And that person, I'm not talking about sports. That person for me is Demar Randy. I love Demar Randy. He's a comic. He's a good friend. He's from Compton. I'm from Weston, Connecticut. They couldn't be two different worlds. We agree on stuff politically. We have very surface level discussions about almost any topic, and then every now and then there's a little deep kind of thing where, he's my buddy. I like him.
Sure.
He's been hanging around Sal's Comedy Hole.
Sure. I'm
the new manager here.
Yep.
We also have a restaurant attached. We also do whatever. And we signed up for Grubhub. We needed a delivery driver. We said, Demar, you're free during the day. Why don't you hang out? Why don't you sit around and do some deliveries? And that way you can write jokes in the back room, and you'll just have a blast. I said back room, not bathroom. I hope people don't think that our delivery driver is sitting around in the bathroom for 10 hours a day. Okay. So anyway. So he started hanging around, and every day he does, my life is shit. My life is just the worst. Everything goes wrong. Everything that could go wrong goes wrong. And then he's there to go, you know what you should do? And he's wrong.
Right.
And I don't know how to get out from under the, and so I'm looking for someone to validate my opinion that people are jinxes, and then I'm just
that could be. Now that I think about it, I did see that instance last night when you were speaking to the waiter. The waiter said there may be a problem with this table. The waiter said I might have made a mistake here. I might have made a mistake with this table. Right. Demar immediately broke out into laughter, thinking that was funny. I thought, wow, that
was the 15th thing that had gone wrong that day. And when Demar, and here's another thing too, we sign up for this delivery service, Grubhub. We'll deliver Vienna Cafe food all over the city within 3.5 miles with no limit to how much you have to spend and no delivery charge. We'll just take it. Okay. And we got a guy here, Demar. When he's not here, the fax machine blows up with deliveries. It just pours in. When he's here for 10-hour stretches,
nothing.
Does
he? Do you supply him with a vehicle? Does he have a car?
He's got a car.
He's got a car. He's got wheels.
Yeah, he's got.
And he delivers. He does the deliveries for you.
Right. Then he gets the tip and whatever's in there, and he gets taken care of a little bit.
And wow, that's interesting. Maybe do the people that are ordering delivery, do they know the days he's working?
No one knows anything.
Do you follow up with them saying, "Hey, what'd you think of that guy that delivered? Was he?"
No, it's pure jinxing. It's not. I don't think he's so offensive that it would kill our delivery.
Right. Hey, plus, you're putting some money. I mean, he's making some money doing the deliveries.
He's not making anything because there's no
deliveries.
There's no deliveries when he's here. When he's not here, I'm running 4 or 5 deliveries myself, and I can't do that. I'm managing the restaurant. I can't go get in my car and go three blocks down. Ari, you get my problem, don't you?
Absolutely. There's just people who have bad luck attached to their blood.
People that have bad luck attached to their blood.
And anything situation there, and I consider myself to be one of those people. I feel like I have terrible luck. I always get in situations where I'm like, why me?
Right.
Why did this happen to me?
And I was just talking about Demar Randy, and my luck turned. I was having a great time with Brad Sachs. I was talking about Demar Randy.
Now you're stuck with me.
My luck instantly turned. I'll tell you why. A second ago, and this is a first in my podcasting history, he was starting to gesture a little crazy, and he was starting to tap his foot. Brad has to pee or something.
Yeah.
So he, as soon as I turned to you, he popped up out of his chair and ran into the restroom.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
A lot of people don't know this about Brad, and I don't know if he wants me to discuss it, but he pees
all the time,
more than anyone I have ever met in my life.
I noticed that about Brad. I used to hang out at this Marty's. I still do. I like Marty. I used to hang out at this Marty's open mic in Hollywood.
Yeah.
And Brad's in that bathroom a lot. He's in and out. I'm always like, he's Mr. Bathroom.
Yeah, Brad has a great bladder.
Right. And one time he comes out of there and he's getting ready to go on stage, and he's got that like urine spot, just the one spot on the front, and I didn't know whether do I tell Brad?
Oh, you saw that?
Oh, I saw. I know.
Was it at Marty's?
It was at Marty's. I never miss a trick. Yeah. I never miss a trick. I'm constantly judging people, whether they're peeing on themselves or whether it's a prostate thing. Brad, don't even worry about it.
It is, yeah.
What you have to do, and this is a trick I've learned. You take the two fingers there, the index and the swear finger. I guess is that the index and the swearing finger, and you press on your taint.
You know what? I had done that for a long time.
Right.
Recently, because I have had urinary prostate problems.
Wow, that's disgusting.
Yeah, and I was doing the old press on the taint,
and
I stopped because I feel like it was irritating
the taint.
The taint, and that there's a direct line from the prostate to the, you know what I mean? There's a lot of wires running.
You don't want to give yourself messed up taint condition.
No, because I've had some prostate problems. Let me tell you. So I've stopped doing that. So what'll happen is when you don't give a little taint press, then the liquid will start dripping out to the front.
Yes.
Which I don't know if you've had that fun, but boy, that is a wild ride.
I do know that since I've gotten into my late 30s, you're done peeing, stand there another 5 minutes. Just stand and shake, wait, tell yourself a story, write a joke. Do that, because 30 seconds later, something else is going to happen. And that is,
you saw the spot when I went. You know what? Because I knew I had the spot.
I knew two things. I knew, one, you had a spot, and two, you were amazingly self-conscious about it.
Oh, you knew that?
I knew that. Oh, my God. I can read that on people a mile away because I'm a ridiculously self-conscious person. I know there are 4 things that happen. First of all, you start straightening things that don't need to be straightened.
Okay.
You're straightening your shirt. You're straightening your pants. You're straightening.
Was I doing that?
Yeah.
On stage?
No. I saw it right before you got on stage.
Oh.
I didn't stay to watch your set. What are you?
You wouldn't do that.
What are you, an idiot? Yeah. I already know how to do stand-up comedy. Not well, but I know how to do it. I don't need any instruction from you. So you were straightening, and then you were kind of looking around. People always do that when they're self-conscious. They immediately want to know who else is in their universe and paying attention to them. And by the way, the answer is always nobody.
Right.
The self-consciousness is totally unnecessary because the answer is always nobody. Everybody is locked in their own little worlds. Now, once in a while, there's the ball breaker.
Right.
They're paying attention.
No
one else is because they're in their own universe, but a Doug Reed might pop up and go, that guy's a fag. Oh, my God. Can you...
Anyway, dude's got a pee spot.
What I was... there's 2 other things, but I'm not going to share them with you because you could win the World Series of Poker every year. Anyway, so here's the thing. I was talking to Ari while you were gone peeing. All I had to do was talk about Demar Randy, and my luck turned.
Huh.
All I had to do was mention his name, and all of a sudden, for the first time ever, a guest bolted from the podcast to use the bathroom.
Literally.
Bolted. All I had to do was say his name.
I guess some people, I do believe some people in life are lucky people.
Right.
And others maybe are not. I feel like Demar might be lucky, though. Like, he sounds like he's had a rough upbringing, and he's lucky to just make it through what he probably made it through to be where he's at today. From what the stories he told me.
I didn't say he was a jinx on himself.
He's a jinx on other people.
He's a jinx on me.
On you.
Everything goes wrong when my buddy Demar is hanging out.
Huh.
Everything. And well, here's the thing. I don't want to exclude Demar.
Right.
But man, does nothing go right when he's hanging out.
That is bizarre.
And it's just him. Jared Levin could come down here. He's not going to jinx me.
No problem.
Jeremy Scipio, Lance Allen, all these great young comics working the open mics and doing shows.
Sure.
They could all hang out. It's not going to affect me. Demar Randy, boom, jinx. Everything goes wrong when he's in the room.
Unbelievable. I'm going to try to get him over here as much as I can.
Asshole.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I like that guy, too. I think Demar he's got talent. I think if he could hone what he's got, he kind of reminds me of like a Tracy Morgan, kind of Jamie Foxx. He's got a lot of swagger to him.
Swagger.
And swagger goes far.
He's got a good singing voice. He's starting to do emotion.
Boy, can that guy sing, man.
Yeah.
Whoa. He's got, is that him? Is that Demar Randy? Speak of the devil, here he is.
Speak of the devil, ladies and gentlemen. Demar Randy just popped in the room. We just had a 10-minute discussion about how my luck is going to turn. I'm probably going to get cancer now.
What's up?
Demar Randy, everybody, in the house.
That's depressing. Ari, should I bring him up to date, or where are we at with time?
We're at 50 minutes.
50 minutes. Demar, Randy, I was just explaining to these gentlemen how you are my jinx.
So if I'm not here, shit goes well.
If you're not here, everything goes cake. Everything goes cake for me and my life.
So I'm guessing today was a good day.
Yeah, today was wonderful. I was smiling, I'm beaming. We had a successful podcast. We had a little success early in the morning. Everything's coming up roses for old James Quinn. But when you're here, the shit hits the fan. The owner's unhappy. You're pestering me. Things don't get done. What is it? Do other people say that you're their jinx?
Well, no, only my mother.
Your mother experienced you as a jinx.
Yeah, my mother from birth. She's like, I fucked up everything for her.
I
fucked up. She had me at 18. 17 actually. She was pregnant in high school with me. So, James, you're not the first person to tell me that I fucked up their life.
Yeah, but somehow I feel like I'm more important than your mother. Like it's just on the scale of things right now.
No. Definitely not more important than my mother. But once I'm able to hear this from the person who's birthed me and is supposed to have the most love for me, you don't bother me that much.
I'm not trying to bother you. I was just explaining to these guys that you're one of my really, really good friends. And I don't know how to balance, the scales of justice. I don't know how to balance being jinxed by you and being a good friend of yours. I don't know how to balance that. I mean, Brad brought up.
After you hit rock bottom, where do you go from there?
You kill yourself at rock bottom.
No, we go up, man. We gotta go up.
Don't you, Ari? Right. At rock bottom, you kill yourself. That's why it's rock bottom.
Well, white people kill themselves at rock bottom. The rest of us, we just learn how to put our whole lives back together, and we have a confidence in something other than our, what we had, our material things.
I don't know about that. I think you. Well, we've had a fantastic podcast. We had Janus on to give us an update in his life, and apparently it's all going the same. We had Demar Randy at the end, bookending. To ruin my day, to ruin the rest of my day. He's here to make probably my death happen, ladies and gentlemen. Probably.
If the rest of my life weren't going so well, I'd take this harder.
And then that's what we were missing is out loud laughter.
That is the Demar Randy laughter.
You can always trust a black guy to ruin my day and cackle.
He spikes the levels on the mics. He laughs.
And in the middle of our podcast, we had Brad Sachs. We were talking about emotion. We were talking about Rodney Dangerfield. We were talking about jinxing. We were talking about life. Brad, how did you feel the podcast went for you today?
I thought it went great. I really was happy when you asked me to come. I like podcasts, and I was very happy to talk to you because you're a great guy to talk to.
Holy shit. It is turning up well for me today.
Yeah. No, I was excited. I thought, you know what? I think James and I, we're going to gel. Mannis hopefully doesn't talk too much.
He didn't. He didn't talk the whole way through. It was awesome.
Hell of a producer.
Fuck both of you and eat my asshole. I'm going to spread it open right now,
he always
and
kills
I want
the comedy.
you both to eat it.
He kills the comedy. He's a comedy killer, and I don't mean that in a good way.
He's the anti-joke comedian.
He's the anti-joke. We were
you guys are so rude. You guys are so rude. I have quite a talent up there on stage.
I'm gonna sign off today.
Me to the public who hasn't seen it. You badmouth me.
I'm gonna sign off today.
Todd. It's not fair. I don't appreciate it. Suck on my asshole. Suck on it.
He needs me. I'm going to sign off today for Sal's Comedy Hole podcast. Thanks everybody for listening. We hope you tune in for future podcasts where I'll get. I feel like I got deeper today than I ever got before on the podcast about the subject of stand-up comedy. And we're going to see you next week at the same time on the same channel, StandUpTalk.com. Sal's Comedy Hole podcast. Everybody, thanks a bunch.
Hit me on Twitter.
Thanks for having me, guys. It was great.
Demar Randy Show.